Okay, folks. Hello, everybody. We are at episode 30.
30.
30.
All right.
30. Nice round number.
Yep.
Um, yeah. A lot of stuff to talk about. I don't know when this happened, but I think sometime in the last 2 years, the NFL free agency has turned into NBA free agency. It's
Yep. It's a
it's it,
lot. It's a lot more interesting.
it's insane. I mean, you can't. I think they were talking about this. I don't know which show, but like 13 days ago, Tom Brady was retired. Russell Wilson still played for the Seahawks. Carson Wentz still played for the Colts. Deshaun Watson hadn't been traded yet, and
Yeah.
Joe Buck and Troy Aikman still worked for Fox.
Yeah. And
It's
Mitch Trubisky was a backup quarterback for the
right.
Buffalo Bills.
Exactly. A lot has happened. My goodness. Like, can we just,
Yeah.
it was almost like when the Deshaun Watson trade came down, it was kind of like, all right, can we get a break? Can we just take it easy?
Yeah.
Like they should. I mean, basically, poor March Madness. Everyone just shit all over that.
Can I just real quick? I mean, I know we're not going to really get into the whole Deshaun Watson allegations, but I happened to be flipping through YouTube. Okay, and he was speaking after they had a video of him speaking after the jury or whatever had decided that there weren't going to be criminal charges.
Right.
You know, and he's like, "Well, I'd like to thank my personal Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for letting the truth come out." And I'm just like, dude, you did not just invoke God with it. Like, seriously, you know. Again, look, he's a really good football player, and he's going to end up playing in the NFL. He's going to end up playing again next year, probably. And but come on, dude. Like, and I know they're allegations, and but I mean, I can have my opinion on them based on stuff. It's just like, don't, come on. Anyway.
Yeah, that seems a bit over the top.
Yeah.
The truth, and the truth came out. Well, you still have 22 civil cases
I
against
was
you.
reminded of Rudy Giuliani standing out in front of a building with hair dye running, streaming down his face, talking about the election was stolen. I mean, it's just kind of like, oh, the truth's going to come out. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they say the truth will set you free, right?
We're just going to start with the Deshaun Watson trade. Like, I mean,
Yes. Let's go into it. I mean, that's the biggest, most wide-ranging topic that's happened. Was it Friday that he got traded?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Friday afternoon. Deshaun Watson got traded from the Houston Texans to the Cleveland Browns for 3 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and so this has been an ongoing thing since. I mean, Deshaun Watson announced probably a little over a year ago that he wanted to be traded, and then
wanted to be traded, and then the legal stuff, and then the stuff came out.
Right. Then it came out that he's got 22 different accusations of sexual misconduct towards women, which, I mean, I have a hard time saying that out loud. Honestly, it's so insane that I can't possibly imagine. I don't know how you get yourself into that situation. I realize he's trying to get himself out of it now, and so recently it was announced.
I like when people say everything that Deshaun Watson's been through the last. I'm like, oh, really? That he's been through? Oh, because somebody else put him through it. Oh, okay.
Right. Right. This doesn't just, you don't just.
I know they're allegations and it's innocent until proven guilty, but come on. Anyway.
Right. That's in a court of law, but this isn't a court of law on the Don't Be Ridiculous podcast. This is, we're just going to, I'm just going to speak for, as men, I mean, in general, I think we need to do better, but this guy especially, come on, man. I don't even, I can't even, we're not even going to go into that because that's not what this is for. But,
yeah.
So basically the criminal charge or the grand jury decided at this time they're not going to bring criminal charges. Now, could they change their mind and bring criminal charges in the future? Yes. If more stuff comes out, yes, they still could. But it's believed by his attorneys that that's not going to happen. So now he's got 22
lawsuits.
civil cases. So, all right, so let's just talk about this football-wise first, and then we'll get into the nonsense of.
See, and we were talking about this. We kind of thought that, or you were saying, is he really going to get suspended? I think he's going to, because the NFL they don't need charges. They can do whatever the hell they want, essentially. So I just think he'll probably get a 4 or 6 game suspension. Like Roethlisberger had an allegation come out, what was it, 12, 13 years ago, and he got like 6 games or something like that. So I think he's going to get something like that.
Yeah. So basically, look, from the Cleveland Browns perspective, I understand it. Like, they're not going to give Baker Mayfield a big contract. But this move reeks of desperation, because they not only did they give up the stuff to trade for him, they gave him a bigger contract.
Yeah, $230 million fully guaranteed.
Right.
5 years.
They gave him $80 million more, or whatever it is, than he already had. He was already on a big contract, and they gave him a raise. So that's a little disturbing, because I feel like you could have got.
Because remember, before this, it's down to the Saints and the Panthers, right?
Right.
And then basically Cleveland just came in and just, you give out all that money. It's like, oh, all right, well, I guess I'm taking you guys.
Yeah. So what I was reading before we came on here, I was reading about the implications of this. It's just football wise. Look, I think football wise. I think it's a great move. I think Deshaun Watson's an elite quarterback. I think he's one of the best in the NFL. Now, listen, he hasn't played. When the season starts, he won't have played in 2 years. So maybe, we'll see where he's at. But talent wise, the Cleveland Browns have a lot of what you would want.
They got Amari Cooper too.
Right. They traded for Amari Cooper. They let Jarvis Landry go, but they have a good offensive line, good running game. Like, they literally have a lot of the things that Houston does not have. So the
only reason that I wouldn't say that they're like, I'm hesitating on the Super Bowl contender is the possibility of a suspension, and then it's like, well, what are they going to do while he's suspended? Are they going to be able to tread water? But and second of all, new team, new system, whatever else, But I mean, the potential is right there for them to be a Super Bowl contender just based on the roster, especially within the next couple of years, because they gave up a bunch. So that means they're kind of mortgaging the future a little bit, which is fine if you could be good enough to win the Super Bowl. So
yeah, no, I think it's worth it, because if he gets suspended, it'll probably be this season. So they may, and that was one of the things. Even if they didn't give him more money, they would have had to restructure it. So they restructured his deal, so he's only got $1 million base salary for this year. So even if he gets suspended, it doesn't kill their salary cap.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's I think Cleveland, while this is really messy because they still have Baker Mayfield there, this is kind of a so the article I was reading talking about, well, the Cleveland Browns are sacrificing their reputation. It's not like the Browns had a sparkling reputation before this. So it's like they're sacrificing their reputation. Their reputation is what? Like, they've sucked forever. Their owner is, they don't have a good reputation no matter what. So I don't know that it really, but it's just kind of.
I understand it, because basically, say they win the Super Bowl with Deshaun Watson, I kind of feel like one of the first, like when people are writing articles or talking about it, it's going to be like, oh, they won the Super Bowl, Deshaun Watson, but he has this other stuff hanging over it, so it kind of makes people, whatever. That's just the way it's going to be. I don't know. It just is what it is. Like, you can talk about, is it right or wrong? Should he be playing football? Should he not be playing football? Look, if a team's willing to pay him, and I'd rather he have a job than not have a job. So I don't understand what's the, but anyway, football wise, it's really good, and like I said, if depending on what happens with the suspension, they may be a Super Bowl contender this year, although their division's kind of, you're entering a division with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. So, and then the Steelers, look, we can get into Mitch Trubisky, but the Steelers have a good defense. They had a good defense last year. They made the playoffs, barely, but they made the playoffs. So that's kind of a tough division. So we'll see.
Yeah.
And the AFC is really tough anyway, with the AFC West, the AFC, and then now you got the AFC North, you got the Bills, you got.
Yeah, no, I think, and I think from Houston's side, I think they did about as well as you could possibly do.
They did really good, yeah.
I mean, they waited it out, which is the smart thing to do, and then they got a bunch of draft picks to try to rebuild their team, and they really like, from what I've seen, they really like Davis Mills as the quarterback. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think they did about as well as they could do, and I'm sure that Cleveland's coaches are salivating at the idea that this guy is going to be. But as far as the NFL suspending him goes, I mean, look, the way I looked at it was, okay, these are civil cases. What if he settles all of them? They're still going to suspend him? Like,
maybe. I don't know.
I mean, yes, the NFL has taken a hit here, and honestly, like I've come on here and been pretty critical of the NFL. I don't think, I think their own self-interest is always first and foremost, and they haven't touched this. I think is, probably the right idea. Probably the right thing to do is just to stay away from it and see what happens. But I'm sure they don't want him playing. Like, even I don't know if he's going to have these cases resolved before the season starts, but I can't imagine the NFL wants him out there week one. And I'm sure Cleveland trading for him, I'm sure they're going to play him unless someone stops them.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know. I'm not convinced the NFL is gonna do the right thing. They should have suspended him indefinitely and just made it simple. They should have just suspended him indefinitely until you resolve this. You can't play. That's what they should have done. I don't know why they haven't done that. So but this is it's pretty crazy. I did not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this one. I guess I thought, like, to me, the Russell Wilson thing was crazier because I didn't think it was going to happen. I mean, I said multiple times, I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. The Deshaun Watson thing, I knew it was eventually going to happen. It was just a matter of when because of all the legal stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, as far as the teams you could go to, I mean, I like Cleveland as better than the other ones. I mean, I think I wasn't really high on the Saints, the Panthers, or the Falcons because, the Saints, they don't have Sean Payton anymore. I mean, that's the best team. The Saints have the best roster probably. Them and the Browns have really good rosters, so I get him going there, but they don't have.
But the coach of the Saints, he was the coach of the Raiders at one point, and he was terrible.
Yeah.
So
right, so that I kind of was surprised that they were even in contention. Because I don't know when they're going to get Michael Thomas back, and they have a bunch of question marks. The Panthers are just not good. I didn't understand why he would, he's going to go to another team with a bad offensive line. Like that didn't seem to make sense to me, and it looked like the Panthers are going to fire the coach any minute. The Falcons, I get why people like that, but that team isn't any good either. So like they have no talent. Like they have their tight end is their best receiver, the kid that they just drafted, last year. And so I just didn't. And then there was no way they were going to be able to have Matt Ryan and Deshaun Watson on the roster at the same. So none of those other choices made sense. The Cleveland Browns actually do, to me, kind of make sense.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I guess I could still see the Panthers. Well, I don't know. I guess the Panthers' defense is okay, but the Saints have a good roster. The Falcons, like, their offense was pretty good, but like they, when they had Calvin Ridley, and I mean, they don't have him now because he's suspended for all of next year because of the gambling thing. So, and then they just have that tight end. So. But I am kind of interested moving forward with Matt Ryan if the Falcons are actually willing to try to part with Matt Ryan. Like, that could be interesting because if you put him on the right team, they could be pretty good. Like, I guess I've sort of heard maybe a little bit of maybe there's potential interest from the Colts, potentially, but I haven't heard anything that's like, whatever. So that could be an interesting move. I mean, I think the Colts have a better roster than the Falcons right now.
Yes, yeah. The most interesting thing.
We'll see if that happens. Matt Ryan's salary is so like ginormous that it's just, I feel like it's going to be, teams are going to struggle to fit that in. But I do think moving forward, that's something to keep an eye on because I think that would be really interesting.
Yeah, especially now once teams have started signing free agents and that kind of stuff. It's hard to now, you kind of have to, if you're going to pull that trigger on Matt Ryan, you kind of have to do it right when it starts. You can't really wait.
Right.
So, yeah, that was funny. The most interesting thing about Deshaun Watson going to Atlanta is where's Matt Ryan going to go? That was kind of fun. Yeah. So leading into, Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield is still on the roster. Still got 1 year left.
Let's go back before the Deshaun Watson thing. So before they made the trade, because it's like, the Browns are interested. They've been coming up with offers. They've talked to Deshaun Watson. And then Baker Mayfield comes out with an Instagram post basically saying farewell to Cleveland. And then he, I guess, requests a trade, which I thought was hilarious because I remember you texting me like, who the fuck does he think he is?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like there's a certain status that players have when they are requesting a trade. And, Deshaun Watson had just been signed to a 5-year, ridiculous contract. And before he asked for a trade from Houston. And then you look in basketball, like Anthony Davis, okay, he's saying he's not going to, he's got 1 year left. He's not going to sign, he's not going to sign there as a free agent. So you might as well trade me. Like that's one thing, guys that are, all pro or all NBA or, that's one thing. But Baker Mayfield, and the weird part is, so he thanks the fans in Cleveland, right? Which he's thinking, you're thinking, well, that's a nice PR gesture, right? Get the fans on your side, right? Make the team look bad, right? I can understand that, try to gain some sympathy that way. But then the next day or within 48 hours, he came out in the media requesting a trade. And it's just, well, wait a minute. What are you doing? You literally so that part to me was confusing, and it came out that the Browns denied it right away, which that tells you how seriously, the Browns take Baker Mayfield because he literally, and then the story came out, well, they need a quarterback that's an adult, which is just, it writes itself,
Yeah.
The comedy writes itself. That guy with all the sexual assault allegations, let's get him. We need an adult.
Yeah. Yeah, we need an adult who seems to be trying to live out his massage therapist porn fantasies now. It's
it's crazy. It tells you that the Cleveland Browns have been better in recent years, but there's still some institutional stuff there that they have to. Wow, it tells me the Cleveland Browns have a long way to go as an organization before we can actually trust them.
Well, what I thought was interesting. So I was watching First Things First, and so Chris Broussard's take on Baker Mayfield, the Instagram thing about the fans, is he said he thought it was weak, and it's you shouldn't do that. If you were good enough, then this wouldn't be a problem, and you should just go out there and play really well, and then this won't be an issue, And then Nick Wright was saying, oh, this is ridiculous. You should totally trade him. Before you had Baker Mayfield, you guys were a complete mess, and he brought some stability or whatever to you guys, and this is unbelievable. And I'm just like, dude, Baker Mayfield is a 500 quarterback, okay? He's okay. He's not terrible. But he made the playoffs once, and then last year, let's be honest, he should have sat out. He shouldn't have been playing. What the hell are you doing? You're jeopardizing your future and you're going out there and you stink. If he had gotten injured and just sat out, maybe the Browns are still maybe we'll hang on to him because you don't really know because last year was supposed to be kind of a make or break year. Let's see if he can make the playoffs again, So, yeah, I just thought that's the funny thing to me is that when Nick Wright and Colin Cowherd talk about Baker Mayfield, they're always talking about off the field stuff. Forget all that. Let's just talk about him on the field.
Thank you.
Is he an elite quarterback? No. We've seen it. He's not.
Yep. So
it's oh, this is disrespectful, whatever. It's dude, he's not an elite quarterback. Deshaun Watson is. Deshaun Watson's way more talented than him. Deshaun Watson's made the playoffs multiple times. So like, oh, this is disrespectful. Aren't you supposed to try to get better? Are you trying to say Baker Mayfield's an elite quarterback? Like, he's not. We've seen it. Okay.
Well,
so you're supposed to get better. I don't understand. And then it's like, oh, well, you can't let this come out because then the quarterback gets pissed off. The 49ers drafted Trey Lance, and Jimmy Garoppolo just said, oh, this is what it is, and just went out there and played. Okay. And it's just one of those things. I'm getting really annoyed with this whole thing. Like, well, you can't try to make your team better because this guy might get pissed off. Well, if this guy was good enough, we wouldn't be trying to trade. So he can either get the hell over it or, act like a fucking asshole. Like, what do you want? I don't understand.
Yeah. And you, and listen, we're telling you what we think, for the listeners out there. Yeah, we're telling you what we think, but the Cleveland Browns have told you what they thought of Baker Mayfield the entire time. They never signed him to an extension. They held on.
Didn't they an extension though?
What? Yeah, they did.
I thought that they all. Yeah. Okay. So Baker Mayfield, who's the idiot here? You, because you should have signed the damn extension. Because what happened? You tried to bet on yourself. You went into the season. You got hurt. You played when you shouldn't have played, and now you're probably going to get traded. And I don't know where the fuck you're going to end up.
Right.
So.
Right, you might not be a starting quarterback anymore. And as soon as the Deshaun Watson criminal cases went away, the Cleveland Browns were all in on Deshaun Watson. They were one of the first teams in the trade rumors. I was
kind of shocked by that. How, like, literally they did that, and then it was like all these teams were like, "Oh, we're ready to go." I was like, "Really? Okay."
Yeah, that seems weird. Like, if it was me, like, honestly, like, we were, well, I'll get to this in a minute, but first I want to talk about what you said. And you're totally right. The Cleveland Browns don't believe in Baker Mayfield, so why should we? And it's like Baker Mayfield makes this huge deal about it, and you're exactly right, Clark. He should have taken the extension. It would have been the smart thing to do. But instead, he basically has taken himself out of the running, and now who knows if he's going to be a starting quarterback?
Well, and I remember when who was the other quarterback who just signed the big ass extension? Was it Josh Allen?
Aaron Rodgers?
No. I think this is like last offseason.
Yeah, Josh Allen. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, and I remember listening to ESPN radio.
And Dak Prescott.
Yeah. Right. Dak and him. And then I remember Keyshawn Johnson was saying, well, this is how it goes, so the next guy up gets more. And I'm like, no. Baker Mayfield's the next guy up? No, he does not get more than Josh Allen. Or like, first of all, Dak Prescott got too much money. Okay. Right. And people are like, oh, well, you just get as much as you can negotiate for it. That's absolutely true. It doesn't mean you deserve it. Right. So I guess Baker Mayfield didn't sign it because he wanted as much as these other guys. You're not as good as them. Okay. So, and then it's like, well, Kirk Cousins bet on himself and it worked out. You're right. It did work out. It was a huge risk, but it worked out, but like, Dak Prescott worked out. He got injured, but he still got the extension. I guess they didn't have anything better to do. And Dallas is also, they got their own issues. So, yeah, he should have signed the extension. I don't know what
Yeah, and to your point about maturity, we were talking about this this week. Like, we've now turned. These. I know it's easy to talk about on TV and on radio. Like, you can talk about this about, you got to be mature and you got to be a CEO and you got to be all of these things. Yeah, that's fine and dandy. You made a really good point there. Yeah, we're talking about maturity, but let's not go too far. Baker Mayfield's not getting in trouble with the law. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's talk about, when we talk about maturity, we need to talk about Deshaun Watson, who can't seem to keep himself out of trouble. Baker Mayfield, yeah, he's a bit of a jerk with the media and gets a little sensitive and all of that. Who cares? Like, he's mature enough. Again, Aaron Rodgers acts like a fucking baby all the time, and it's fine. You know why? Because he's really good.
Yeah.
So we go a little too far on maturity. When I say maturity, we just need you to show up and play well. Okay? Yeah. And try not to...
He's done that enough. He's been inconsistent.
Right. Try not to commit felonies or beat up or rape women. We're very minimalist about this stuff when it comes to maturity in sports. Like, just be available. That's all we really need you to do.
A lot of therapists off Instagram. Just saying.
Right. Yeah, I mean, so yes, Colin Cowherd's been on this since the beginning. That Baker's not mature, and that's why he doesn't succeed. No, he doesn't succeed because he's small, doesn't have a very good arm, and he's not a great athlete.
Yeah.
Who does that?
And it's not just he's not a great look. You can be small and not be a great athlete if you can be elite at other stuff. Like you can be elite pre-snap or elite. He's not elite at other stuff. So that's what I always get. I always have a problem with when people think that like, oh, well, this guy, maybe he doesn't have this and this and this, but he can succeed. I'm like, okay, but you're going to have to be elite at something in order to be an elite quarterback. Like,
anyway. Yeah. So to me, this seems like a really desperate move for Cleveland. They've gone all in on this. And so, there's a lot of pressure on them. It better work, and I'm not saying, and when I say it better work, I don't mean they have to win the Super Bowl. I mean, obviously that's the goal, right? But
you can be a perennial playoff team for Cleveland. That's perennial playoff team, make the AFC Championship game. To me, that's some success considering what Cleveland's been for most of our lives. I mean, in the early part of our lives, Cleveland was actually pretty good. They kept making the AFC Championship game, but since then, they've basically been a dumpster fire.
Yeah. So I think, so this is, listen, Deshaun Watson, there's no denying the talent. At one point, he was up 24-0 in a playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs. So There's no question that Deshaun Watson has what you need, has what everybody's looking for, which is why so much was traded for him. So to me, it's laughable going back when people were. I remember when people were complaining when this first, a year ago when it first came out that Deshaun Watson wanted to be traded, and the packages people were talking about, and everybody's like, "You can't give up that much for him. What are you talking about?" And I was just shaking my head, going, "Yeah, you are." Get ready. It's going to be 5 draft picks, and honestly, I thought it would be more. I'm surprised that it wasn't even more than that. So the other major trade this week anyway was Davante Adams. The Green Bay Packers. I guess what I understand is they franchise tagged him and then they traded him, so they weren't going to.
What I heard now, again, I don't know exactly. I was listening to or watching Undisputed, and they were actually sort of, I don't know, not breaking news, but anyway, what they're saying was the Packers franchised him, and then it was a non-exclusive franchise tag. So then the Raiders came in and they made an offer, and I guess from what I understood, what they were saying was that the offer was like the Packers offer was. The Packers countered or something, and it was better. But Davante Adams wanted to go to the Raiders, and they let him go. So, and that to me, that's like, well, did Davante Adams want to go to the Raiders? Was he tired of Aaron Rodgers bullshit? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and the other thing was, I think Green Bay, like he would have gotten he had a similar contract offer from Green Bay. Maybe It wasn't more money, but maybe it was pretty much the same. And so, there's going to be a whole lot of stories coming out in everybody's opinion this week about
that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to be blamed for this at some point, I guarantee, by some people. I think Stephen A. Smith already did. And so I think that, this is going to be wow.
Packers, that's a problem because they don't have like a really, look, you still have Aaron Rodgers. They'll still be a good team, right. But you're not going to have, you don't have a real number one receiver. Maybe they draft somebody. Receivers, you seem to be able to find them in the draft a lot, but
I don't know what Green Bay's plan is here. I was, up to the point before, they drafted Jordan Love and pulled that whole thing. I thought Green Bay is pretty well run, but this is a problem. They really don't have any good receivers. They have some good running backs. They have a good offensive line. Their defense is solid. So,
look, let's be honest here. They had a Super Bowl, basically like a 3-year Super Bowl window. They made the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row. The first time against San Francisco, the 49ers were better. The second time, they should have beaten Tampa.
Yep.
And then this past year, they should have at least made the NFC Championship game, and they didn't. So they had things set up, and that's kind of, you go through cycles. So they had a Super Bowl window. I think things are going to kind of come down a little bit. for maybe the next couple of years. They're going to have to make a free agent move, or they're going to have to draft some people and have some people develop whatever until they get back. But, by that point, Aaron Rodgers will be, close to the end of his contract. So, yeah, I guess they're going to have a lull here. But, yeah, the Jordan Love thing, it's kind of like they drafted him and they obviously don't think that he's ready to play. And this has been 2 years of him being on the bench. So, is he going to be ready to go or not? Because otherwise you just wasted a draft pick.
Yeah, they gave up draft picks to get up into the first round to draft him. And it's kind of – and then they're giving Aaron Rodgers a huge contract. So, yeah, I don't know how this works for Green Bay. I guess I get what the Raiders are doing. I mean, they're taking a big swing here.
Yeah, I mean, so I was reading. Bill Barnwell had a article on this on ESPN.com, and he talked about it. He did a really good job. Davante Adams is 29. Okay, he's played one full season where he hasn't gotten injured. Okay, he's also 29, which to me means, well, he already had a history of injuries. He could keep getting hurt. I mean, Julio Jones, for example. Julio Jones is, I think, a future Hall of Famer. Okay, he's a shell of his former self right now.
Right.
Okay, I mean, the Titans bring him in. They're thinking, oh, we got Julio Jones. He's okay. He's had a bunch of injuries. He's had a Hall of Fame career up to this point. I think he's going to end up in the Hall of Fame. But it's just, you get older, you break down, and so if Davante Adams doesn't stay healthy, I mean, that sort of puts the kibosh on everything, and they're paying him a ton of money. So maybe the first year it's really good, but if he gets injuries or his production declines, then you're going to be massively overpaying for him. And what we've seen we've seen this in the NFL, the NBA, whatever. If you overpay on a contract for multiple years, you're in trouble. Okay, and the Raiders could end up being in that position. So,
yeah, I mean, listen, we're going to find out if Josh McDaniels is a really good coach, because that's what this is going to come down to, because they're going to need, expert level coaching, because,
the other thing is, when you take a big swing like this, are you taking a big swing to turn into a Super Bowl contender? Because I don't think that we think this makes them a Super Bowl contender.
Right.
So, like if this doesn't, I mean, if he starts getting hurt and he's not getting the same production, then you kind of massively overpaid. So
there's also a scenario where this works. I mean, they got Davante Adams.
He's a really talented receiver. Maybe this is the first half of like a Hall of Fame career. Who knows? But I'm just,
Right. Yeah. I mean, they have him. They have Hunter Renfrow. They have Darren Waller. Like, they have some skill position stuff on offense that could be pretty special. So,
right.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about was, now we filled in most of the quarterback scenarios for most of the teams. But,
right.
So as I see it, there's 4 teams that to me are still looking for a quarterback. That's the Colts, the Panthers, the Saints, and the Seahawks.
I've seen some more reporting. I think the Seahawks like them some Drew Lock.
Yeah, well, listen,
I don't get it.
They can say that all they want, but we're going to tell the truth here. They're
bullshit. Okay,
they're still looking for a quarterback. There's no doubt about it. But we've still got, and we've still got Jimmy Garoppolo, somewhat available, I think.
Yeah, he's got that injury, so he had surgery, I guess. So
yeah, so I don't know. I don't know that any of these teams are going to give up. I mean, at this point, I don't know that any of these teams are going to give up a lot for Jimmy Garoppolo or Baker Mayfield, which are about probably the 2 best quarterbacks left that might be available. So, I mean, I think there's a reasonable chance the 49ers just stick with Jimmy Garoppolo.
He still has a year left on his contract.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, honestly, like, really, is it really worth, like, because the talk was, okay, well, you could probably get a 2nd-round pick for Garoppolo. Well, if he's injured, you're not getting a 2nd-round pick anymore. So, and how many teams, like I said, I just listed, there's only 4 teams that would even be interested.
How much would you have to give up to get Baker Mayfield?
Well, that's the thing. I was reading, there was a tweet from Mike Lombardi, and it's like, if Cleveland calls teams and wants a 2nd-round pick for Baker Mayfield, they're going to get laughed at. Like, why would anybody give up a decent draft pick for a guy that's got 1 year left?
Oh, okay.
In either scenario, Baker Mayfield and Jimmy Garoppolo only have 1 year left. So
yeah, you're getting him for right. Oh, so what is that? That's a third round pick
at best. Why would you? I don't even know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're so let's just look at it from, let's pick a team, right? The Colts. Let's say you're the Colts. You really want Baker Mayfield after you just had Carson Wentz? Like, you really want to go through that? Like, you're going to get a smaller guy who is not as good an athlete and is kind of a mess? Like, is that really what you want? Like, and the thing is, if you're the Colts, why would you give up a second round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo? Why don't you just wait? You know, like, why I wouldn't give up a second round pick for him. Is that really that important? You know, I mean, I realize the Colts don't really have a quarterback at this point, but it makes me think that they may have something going on in the background because they haven't done anything. Like, you know, the Colts signed Jacoby Brissett, you know, to be the backup for Watson. Their team's bringing in their backup quarterbacks now, so I'm not sure what the Colts are doing. And I think the 49ers at this point may just hang on and see how it goes. I mean, as for the Panthers, the Saints, and the Seahawks, I mean, I think the Seahawks have a reasonable. I think they have the 9th pick in the draft in the first round, so they could draft a quarterback if they want. Like, it makes perfect sense there. But yeah, I'm.
Are the Browns going to like release Baker Mayfield? Because I mean, think about it. They got Deshaun Watson, they got Brissett.
I don't think so. I mean, listen. I mean, if they can't get anything for him, they will. But I think it's they'd like to get something, you know, instead of just dumping them. But they may not have a choice.
Well, then, I think that he's going to get moved then, and I just think it'll be something like a third round pick, you know. And I mean, if you're Cleveland, you just gave up a bunch of picks, so I mean, get a draft pick back, even if it's a third round pick. I mean, because team's not going to want to invest too much because they don't know if Baker Mayfield's going to be the guy,
right?
So, but if you really don't have a quarterback, I mean, Baker Mayfield did go to the playoffs once, so you know.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the Colts' plan is. It seems to me, why wouldn't you have just traded for Jimmy Garoppolo already? I don't quite.
I just wonder if that's because of the injury. I mean, some people like Bill Simmons has kind of been like, well, why haven't they traded Garoppolo yet? Thinking it had something to do with, well, Brady wants to go to the 49ers. I don't know if there's any truth to that at all, because now he's going back to the Bucs. Maybe he was trying to go there, but they were like, no, you're not leaving. Like, I don't know. So, yeah, I think maybe it's just injury related with Garoppolo. They just don't – either that or the 49ers they're not ready to go yet. They're kind of holding off for some reason. I don't know. Yeah,
listen, I have no – to me, like, if it was me, I think the 49ers should just keep Jimmy G and roll with it. Like, who cares if they don't get anything for him? It's really not that big a deal. Like, they already won that trade to begin with. Like, what they gave up for him and the results that they got. Like, they made out on that trade really well. If he leaves as a free agent, to me, that doesn't even bother me that much.
Well, I mean, and also, what's he going to do? Get better?
Right.
No, I mean, you've probably got the best Jimmy Garoppolo on your team. Like, the years that he played for your team, you got the best out of him. So at that point, it's like, all right, see ya. Like.
Yeah, so if I'm the 49ers, I'm not desperate.
If you get some lower round draft pick for them, then I guess maybe, fine, you get something.
Yeah, who cares at that point? But yeah, so, it's funny, like, I would like to have, I listed 4 teams that are still looking for a quarterback. I would add the Dolphins because, I mean, I know the Dolphins got out.
Trying to sell us on how much they love Tua and how much. Bro, you got greatness in you. We're going to get it out of you. Like Mike McDaniel, all positive and whatever, but come on.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, that's the part. It's like the Dolphins know. Like, they know. They already know. Like, this is the whole point of the whole discussion is they know he's not the guy. And I think this is why they had such a problem with disconnect with Brian Flores, is Brian Flores is telling them this isn't the guy. Like, you guys need to. So, so that's all I had for NFL stuff.
Well, what real quick though, Colin Cowherd loves the Mitch Trubisky signing by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, now look, I'm not saying it's a bad signing. You're not paying him that much, and like he did make the playoffs twice with the Bears. And look, the Steelers, They got a good roster. They got a good defense. They got some weapons on offense. They improved their offensive line this offseason. Great. You know what? I think you can be a competitive team with Mitch Trubisky. You're not a Super Bowl contender. You know, right. It's not like, you know, it's kind of like when people are like, oh, Bill Belichick picked Mac Jones. He's so smart. He fell to you in the draft, dude. Like, come on. Just, you know, you didn't want to jump into Deshaun Watson or anything else. So you just decided, all right, we'll sign somebody for cheap. And, you know, you're going to be in this position like 2 years from now, probably, because I don't think you're going to give Mitch Trubisky another contract. Right. So, you know, I'm not saying it's a bad move. It's fine, you know, but Colin's getting all, he's just like, oh, I love this. It's just like, dude, it's not, you know, it's fine. It's just, come on.
Right. No, that's the thing. It's like, okay, great. You got, you know, well, he's going to be so much better than Ben Roethlisberger was. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger was pretty bad. And so maybe he'll be a little, but what are we talking about here? Like the level that we're talking about is so low. What difference does it make? And, you know, like, yeah, you can be happy that, oh, well, they got this, you know, guy who's probably a career backup as their starter. But if I'm a Steelers fan, I'm not happy about that. Like yeah. That's the thing. That's the part that blows my mind. Like, yeah, that's great. Fantastic. But as a Steelers fan, there's no way I'm happy that Mitch Trubisky is my quarterback. Nobody's getting excited about that. You know, it's just like the Dolphins. I'm not excited that Tua is the quarterback. Like, yeah. You know, I get it. And I think I'm not, you know, I try not to be a hater. I don't think he's terrible, but there's nothing for me to, you know, to get all, you know, excited about. To say, oh, this is this guy for our future and blah, blah, blah. There's nothing exciting about that. You know, so I find it funny, like NFL offseason, we get excited about a lot of quarterbacks that we know are limited and we know are not going to go anywhere. I mean, Carson Wentz to Washington is nice, but we know they're not going anywhere with that move.
Even if Carson Wentz was still in Indianapolis, like we didn't think they were going to win the Super Bowl. Right. We just thought that, oh, they're good, you know, whatever. Like, you know, it's just funny to me that, you know, we do all this talking about, well, if you don't have a franchise quarterback, then none of the other stuff matters. Yeah, that's true. You know, the Steelers, they got a great roster. It doesn't matter. They don't have an elite quarterback, so you're not winning anything, especially in the AFC. So
right, yeah. Yeah, so that's, you know, listen, good deal by Pittsburgh. You know, they Pittsburgh makes, you know, smart, efficient, you know, moves, but
efficient moves don't necessarily win you the Super Bowl.
Right. Smart and efficient doesn't win unless you're great. You know, it's like, and we're seeing this now with the Patriots and Bill Belichick. It's amazing what happens when you don't have the great quarterback anymore. Boy. Yeah, makes it a little harder. You know, it's a little harder to win playoff games now when you're rolling with Mac Jones. All right, so I had one. There's a whole bunch of NBA stuff going on. You know, we're getting down to we're in the home stretch. Basically, there's like 12 games left.
Yeah, there's 11, 12 games.
So the NBA topic that I thought was interesting because the reaction. I thought the reaction to something was pretty wild. So the Brooklyn Nets, they played I can't remember which game. I can't remember who they played, but it was a home game, and they haven't lifted the vaccine mandate, but they changed the mask mandate
for public sector employees. They didn't lift it for private sector workers.
Right. So basically, Kyrie Irving is at the game. On the bench, you know, nobody's got. I didn't think anybody had masks on, but he's at the mask mandate too. Right, so he's at the game on the bench. He was in the locker room, can't play the game, and so
he couldn't go in the locker room either. They got fined thousands.
Right,
of dollars.
He wasn't supposed to go in the locker room either. So, regardless of the fact that we've gone overboard, some of this vaccine stuff is just it doesn't make any sense. Regardless of health stuff, it doesn't make any sense. So after the game, Kevin Durant was talking to the media, and of course they asked him, you know, about Kyrie Irving and the situation, and the mandates. And Kevin Durant says, "Listen, man, I think, you know," he goes on this spiel about the mayor of New York needs to figure this out, and some of it doesn't make any sense, and you know, it sounds like somebody's somebody's trying to manipulate the situation or something like that, basically, which, and, to a certain extent, I mean, yeah, the mandate doesn't make sense. You got unvaccinated people in the crowd, and that's okay, but, Kyrie Irving can't play in the game, and, this needs to be fixed and blah, blah, blah. And, yeah, I get that. So during, I think they were playing Milwaukee. So during the halftime, it was halftime of the next game. And so on ESPN. And they, so of course they bring it up, and Michael Wilbon loses his mind, goes nuts about Kevin Durant. Stop, Kevin. He says, like, that is such a dumb thing for such a smart person to say. He's like, Kevin Durant needs to, this is the, Kyrie should have gotten vaccinated, and if he'd done that, we wouldn't be talking about this. This has nothing to do with the mayor or anything to do with mandates. This is just, this is nonsense, and they need to stop complaining about it. And while yes, I do understand what Michael Wilbon was saying is that, listen, this is Kyrie's fault. This is nobody else's fault. This is not the mayor's fault. This is not anybody. Nobody else should be blamed for this. Kyrie made a decision. It's affecting his team the way it's affecting his team. It has literally cost them James Harden on their team, in my opinion, because of this situation. They literally
things. Yes, right. I think there were multiple things to me with Kyrie Irving that kind of cost them that whole thing.
Right. So they've basically taken a hit for this, and in my opinion, ruined their chances to win a championship when that's the whole reason this was put together. So yes, I agree with Wilbon, but that's not Kevin Durant's fault, though. He's right about the mandate. Yes, it doesn't make any sense.
The problem that I'm still having with this is that, and Greeny was talking about this on his radio show on Monday, and he was just saying how, there's more important issues here. This is life and death. That's where I have a problem with this, okay? In March of 2022, okay, considering we've had the vaccines for a year now, it's been so long ago that people got the vaccine, they've been getting booster shots now, okay? Not to mention the people who've gotten it and recovered from it, so now they have natural immunity plus all the vaccine immunity that we have around the entire country, okay? So you're telling me that at this point, having Kyrie Irving play in the game is a life and death issue for his teammates, the other teams, the other people in the arena, when you're allowing Kyrie Irving to be in the arena unmasked and unvaccinated? Like, guys, I'm not asking you to say the vaccine's wrong or anything like that, or be anti-vax or anything like that, but just look at that as a rational human being and just say that doesn't make sense. And also, like I said, at this point, it is not a life and death issue. In March of 2020, okay, when we didn't have vaccines and we didn't exactly know what this was, we didn't know how to deal with it, it's no longer a life and death. It's a decision that people make to get vaccinated or not, or what risks they're going to take in terms of their risk for contracting COVID. Okay. So, did I think it was a little ridiculous that what Kevin Durant was saying about the mayor, trying to get attention or something like that? I don't necessarily think that he's trying to get attention. I just think with a lot of these rules, we've stopped really thinking rationally about them. We just go, well, this is what we were doing. We're just going to keep doing this. Well, what about blah, 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 blah? Well, do you not care about life and death of, it just becomes this whole thing. So, but again, Kyrie Irving doesn't have anybody to blame for this but himself. Okay. I get really annoyed when people, when you criticize some of these, like the vaccine mandates or different mask mandates or things like that, and then people all of a sudden lump you in like, oh, you're just anti-vax. It's like, no, I'm perfectly in support of the vaccine. But he could have gotten the vaccine, as most of the other NBA players did. Okay, so he kind of has himself to blame, although the rules that are in place now are ridiculous and they need to be revised based on what we know now and what the situation is.
Yeah, no, I think I thought, yes, I think we're now, what I think Michael Wilbon is speaking to, whether he's intentionally doing it or not, is now the thing is kind of flipped, and people seem to have forgotten what the original problem of Kyrie not getting vaccinated, and they now seem to be on his side. So he seems to have somehow flipped, some of the narrative stuff to where now people are like, yeah, they get to change the mandate, yeah, because he should be able to play and blah blah blah. When that really is not. That's a secondary issue.
I'll say this: the rule. So the rule's applying to him. But if it applied to anybody else in a similar situation, I would say it's kind of ridiculous. Like, it's not just about Kyrie Irving. Like, the rule just doesn't logically on its face doesn't make sense anymore.
Right.
So, but again, he put himself in this situation. I think Kyrie Irving's kind of an idiot. So, whatever. I'm glad I don't live in New York because some of those rules just seem a little over the top and ridiculous. Not to mention the fact that if you listen to some people talk about when they had a full vaccine, I guess they still have a vaccine mandate in place in different spots. But you talk about, well, you got to show your phone, which I guess has something on it that shows that you've gotten vaccinated. And it's like, okay, so you show up to some place and someone pretends to look at it, and then you walk in. And it's like, oh, everything's safe. It's like, okay, you sure that they looked at that really closely? Like,
while you're eating and drinking at a restaurant with your mask off. I mean, it's just none of this makes sense. And by the way, both things can be true, Michael Wilbon. Yes, the mandate does not make sense, and Kyrie Irving's a dumbass. It's like,
but you can't have two competing thoughts in your head at the same time.
It's just, and listen, I do think now, because the criticism of Kyrie Irving has kind of died down a little bit to where it was, that now, I think Stephen A. Smith made a good point. He's like, listen, if we're going to give Kyrie Irving credit for scoring 60 points against Orlando, then we need to blame him when the Nets lose by a field goal, by one basket to Dallas, on a buzzer beater. Like, this is Kyrie's fault. Like, it's literally his fault that the team is kind of floundering and may not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, the scenario that I've posited a few times on here about Brooklyn. Right now they're in 8th, and so they may have to play Toronto in the play-in game, which means even if it's on the road, which it should be as long as they stay in 8th, Kyrie can't play. So if they lose that game, right, so they got to play Toronto, which Toronto is not going to be easy. They have Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes and some guys who can give Durant a hard time, and
they have been there, and they have a system, and they know what the hell they're doing. They know how to play together. They're not trying to rely on Ben Simmons, right.
And that's the other thing. Good
game scenario. Like, let me just say this. Like, when we talk about the NBA, like, you got to have like a top 5, top 7 player to even be in the consideration for being a title contender, right? But in a one-game scenario, like, for instance, the Miami Heat, if the Miami Heat were in the play-in tournament, I would like their chances. Why? Because, well, as people talk about Heat culture, which I know is like, it's kind of ridiculous they talk about that, but it's like, yeah, you know what? They're just going to go out, play hard, play defense. They know what they're doing. They got a good coach. Like, in a one-game scenario, that can matter. In a 7-game series, you're going to get beat by the better players. So,
right. Yeah. So Brooklyn would have to go to Toronto, which, by the way, the Toronto fans are awesome. That place is going to be rocking. Okay. So they got to go there without Kyrie. And I'm glad you brought up Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons
is he going to play?
He's having back tightness. Okay. There's a story now. He had to get an epidural for his back. So I don't know that he's even going to play this season. So your team, you are sending this team to Toronto. You've got Kevin Durant and a bunch of guys that are shorter than me. Okay. And I'm 6'2". Okay. So you got Kevin Durant and all these pips. No offense to Seth Curry and Kyrie Irving and Patty Mills and Goran Dragic, but they're small. They're going to get taken advantage of, by a bigger team. So, and by the way, and if they lose that game to Toronto, then they would have to play a home game again, a game that Kyrie Irving can't play in, against Charlotte or Atlanta. So this is not. It would be so funny for Brooklyn to go through all of this crap and then get to the playoffs, and it's just Kevin Durant and a bunch of guys. Because we saw what happened when it's just Kevin Durant and a bunch of guys. What happens? They run out of gas. Yep. Like, you cannot possibly do it for a 7-game series. Like, as a Heat fan, I would love to play Brooklyn in the first round if Kyrie can't play in the home games, because that's just like that seems like too much fun. the small team, and I know everybody.
Defense on one guy is a lot easier than defense on two elite players. If you can just key in on one guy,
yep.
Yeah,
and the Heat have everything that you would need to defend that. They can defend a team who's basically relying on one scorer. I think the idea that I love this when I watch Inside the NBA and Charles Barkley says Brooklyn could be really dangerous. Dangerous to who? Yeah, I don't buy it. The other thing, speaking of things I don't buy, yes, I know the Celtics have been playing really well lately. I'm sorry, man. Like when they get into a playoff series, they're probably not going to have the best player in any playoff series they play in. Number one. Number two, they have one reliable scorer. They have one guy. Again, you can stop that. What are the Celtics going to do if you take the ball away from Tatum? Yeah, Jaylen Brown can have a good game here and there, but he's not consistent every game. And it's like they barely have five guys you can depend on in a playoff series. So I think it's one of these things that we're reaching the point in the season where people get caught up in a bunch of regular season crap that doesn't matter.
And you have to remember the playoffs are it's a totally different thing.
Yep. Totally different thing. Yeah. I think.
Look, we're Miami Heat fans. The Heat are good. They're a good regular season team. They got a nice team. Can they get out of the first round? I like their odds. The second round, if you got to play Milwaukee or Philadelphia, that's just too much talent for the Heat to deal with. The Heat do not have a truly elite player. Jimmy Butler is top 20,
maybe
in the league.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
17, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to underrate him. I really like him as a player, but he's not. He's not a top 10 player. He's not a top 7 player.
Right.
So and Bam Adebayo, he's nice. He's good. Right. Like it's not.
Yeah, they have good. So, the Heat have good. The Heat have good players, and look, the Heat are in line. Like the Heat, I looked at it today. The Heat are 3 games up on for the 1 seed, so they might get the 1 seed, which would be great for them. They could get out of the first round, and depending on who it is in the second round, we'll see. Like if they play Boston or Chicago, I like my chances. So the other thing was Dallas has really been playing really well lately. This season, they've actually been really good on defense. I think they're ranked 6th in defense, that's quite an accomplishment for them. And the fact that this trade they made for Porzingis has kind of worked out. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie hit 2 game-winning shots in the last week, and I think Dallas did the right thing. I think this trade really kind of helped them because now they have 3 guys now who can run the offense. Luka, Jalen Brunson, and Dinwiddie. So I really like where they're at. The team I'm worried about now is the Warriors, and now that I was worried about them before. Don't get me wrong. I was worried before the season started. I was worried a month ago. I'm definitely worried now that Steph Curry has an injury that they're going to reevaluate in 2 weeks. This is a major concern. It's funny. Like the story comes out. Well, he'll be back for the playoffs. We'll see.
Yeah. By the way, Anthony Davis still isn't back either.
Right.
So I feel like that was like we were like, oh, he'll be back soon. It's like, okay, I'm waiting.
Yeah. Yeah, so now that Curry got injured, which I don't want to get too much into the play that happened. I thought it was ridiculous the way the Celtics acted, or not the Celtics, the way the Warriors and Steve Kerr acted when Curry got injured, as if Marcus Smart did it on purpose or something. He was diving for a loose ball. Like I don't understand how people get angry about diving for a loose ball is not okay. Like what, nobody's trying to injure Steph Curry. Okay, I mean, my God. So that was ridiculous. But yeah, so now like the Warriors, like they just got Draymond back. Klay Thompson is, he's hit or miss. He's nowhere near where he was a couple of years ago. It's going to probably take him an off season to get to be somewhere close to where he was. So he's not the same guy, especially on defense.
Well, Phoenix we're still waiting on Chris Paul.
Right.
So the West is weird that Bill Simmons I think it was Bill Simmons. He was saying like maybe Dallas can just they can get into these series and they can just, I don't know.
Yeah, you really honestly could just look at the injury report. Who has their guys? Who's got all their guys? Dallas has everybody right now. Denver is a limited team, but they have everybody. I mean, I don't think Jamal Murray's back, but they have everybody on their team now is healthy. And so, I think like Kendrick Perkins was on First Take and basically said, that's it. The Warriors aren't winning the title this year. I didn't think they were winning the title this year anyway, but I think this makes it really difficult, especially because I was looking at the standings, Memphis has already passed Golden State and Utah and Dallas might pass them now. So they might end up 4th or 5th playing Dallas or Utah in the first round. Especially if Curry's not, even if Curry plays, he's not going to be, he's not going to be 100%. So this could be scary for them. They could be in a world of problems. Phoenix, I think could win a first round series without Chris Paul if they had to. Just because whoever gets the 8th seed in the West, now granted, I wouldn't, it's funny. I think the Lakers are a mess, but if they get Anthony Davis back and they bench Russell Westbrook, which is what they should do, they're going to be a pain in the ass to play. They just are. Yeah. I don't know if you watch. I watched the highlights from the other game when LeBron passed Karl Malone for second. No, it was the game before that. The game against Toronto went into overtime. LeBron was out of his mind. He was blocking shots, getting rebounds, running the floor. He was unstoppable offensively. I don't think the Lakers are not a good enough team to win the title, but man, it is a problem. You get Davis and LeBron out there, it's just good luck stopping that. I don't know what you do.
Right.
So yeah, I think Phoenix, if they could get Chris Paul healthy by the end of the first round, I think they could be okay. They could be on track. But yeah, the West, I have no idea. No idea.
East, I just feel like it's probably Milwaukee, but I think Philadelphia has a shot because they've got a lot of talent. And then outside of that, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
But it definitely could be it could be an interesting playoffs because especially the West. I don't fucking know. It's like you said, the injuries, and then just maybe someone's just going to have to be playing the right way at the right time and just kind of get through. I don't know.
Yeah, the injuries, and then a lot of these teams are, Golden State and who else? Memphis are depending on young teams. They're depending on young players to win these playoff series, and that's really hard to do. I know we all love the Warriors, the way they play, all of that stuff, but these guys have never played in big games before. Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga and these guys, you don't know what's going to happen in playoff series. So yeah, that's a bit of an issue, but yeah, I think this could be as wide open as ever. And listen, if they lift the mandate and Kyrie Irving can play every game, okay, maybe I change my Brooklyn stance a little bit. But
I just think Kyrie. I was doing this the other day. I was counting Kyrie Irving playoff runs. Right? Okay, so let's do this. Ready? He never made the playoffs without LeBron. Right?
Right.
Okay. First year with LeBron, he's out for basically the entire playoffs. Plays in game 1 of the finals and then gets injured. So we got 1 injured year in the playoffs. The next 2 years he goes through healthy. So we got 1 injured year, 2 healthy years, right?
Yeah.
Goes to Boston, gets hurt. Okay.
Right.
So now we got 2 healthy years, 2 injured years. Next year, he's healthy, but they get bounced in the second round. So that's 3 healthy years, 2 injured years. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And then what happens next? He goes to Brooklyn. The first year with Brooklyn in the bubble, he got injured. So we got 3 injured years and 3 healthy years. And then what do we got? Last year, injured year. 4 injured years, 3 healthy years in the playoffs. That's it. That's Kyrie Irving. So he's gotten hurt more years in the playoffs than he stayed healthy. So even if he can play, you're assuming he's not going to get hurt. And it's not his fault. It's just he's a smaller player.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, Kyrie Irving has as high a ceiling and as low a floor as you could possibly have when it comes to the playoffs. He's hit the game-winning shot in Game 7 of the finals, and then he can't play, or when he does play, he doesn't give a shit. So It's all over the place. I have no idea. You don't know what you're getting, and you make a good point. Even if he can play every game, who the hell knows? So they're quite a mystery. And if you need Ben Simmons, you got a problem. That's a serious issue. And so they're not going to have. How are they going to? It's like, how do you guard Milwaukee?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Like, you're going to put, okay, they got Drummond, right? Okay, that's decent. But he can't guard Giannis. Middleton's just going to back down all these little pipsqueaks, guards, and just back them down. And Drew Holiday's bigger and stronger than all those guys. Like, good luck. And then if it's just Durant, they have all these guys they can just throw at him. And listen, don't count out the possibility that Grayson Allen does some fucked up shit and somebody else gets hurt. Like he trips Kevin Durant or kicks him in the balls, or he's that kind of guy. Like, he will do it. So, I wouldn't put it past him. Like, that would be one of the funniest things I would definitely look forward to. Is Grayson Allen just whacking Kevin Durant and just Kevin Durant getting pissed.
Well, that's the other thing. Durant could get injured too. I mean,
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's playing a lot of minutes. He's really, beating himself up over this. So.
Yep. So, hey, he decided to hitch his wagon to Kyrie Irving. So.
Yeah,
you get what you pay for, pal. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Yeah, that's one of those things that's just going to go down in history. I don't understand the decision. And then he recruits James Harden to go with him. Like, come over, Kyrie's fine, it's okay, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
So, all right. Anyway.
Yeah, I think we're good. I don't have anything else.
All right, folks. So, yeah, we'll catch up with you soon. One thing I'd like to do is before the play, we got to do a little NBA playoff preview, but that's still still a couple weeks away. And, and we'll see what happens with, I can't imagine there's any more big NFL moves, but you never know.
Yeah, who knows?
I haven't checked Baker Mayfield's Instagram in the last 5 minutes, so we'll see. All right, folks. Take care.
Later.